We just watched Dogman, and did anyone else watch this? Because we got to talk about it.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my seat. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another iPopcorn for that review. I'm Chris.
I'm Nick.
And today we are talking about Dogman. So this is the newest film from Luc Besson. So famous director, especially in the 90s, did The Fifth Element, Leon the Professional, La Femme Nikita, more recently Lucy, a few other movies. But his output has kind of lessened over time, and it lessened in quality over time. But this was a unique one, and I don't see hardly anybody talking about it. So here we are. We're talking about it. But it's a very short description. But what's the description online for this thing?
Wherever there is an unfortunate, God sends a dog. A boy bruised by life finds his salvation through the love of his dogs.
This movie is such a freaking oddball little film. It's bizarre, but I'm so curious to see. I watched this and suggested you watch it, and I didn't say anything about it. I'm curious to see how you felt about it. What did you think?
What was this movie? I don't. There was a couple of parts I liked. For the most part, I did not like it at all. Regretted watching it, and I saw that you had liked it on Letterboxd, and I was like, oh jeez.
Yeah, I was a little worried that this might be one of those movies where we disagree. Although we don't disagree that hard, but there's an interesting thing about this for me, which is that I think Caleb Landry Jones' performance as the star of this movie elevates it to the point of being interesting.
Yeah,
good.
I mean, his performance was good, just the character is really freaking strange. And the premise of the movie is really strange.
For me, I just thought that the performance elevated this to a point where I would give it a higher score than I would think I would give it. But the writing here, the script, just the way some of the storytelling is handled, it's uneven and it's wild. The story, I mean, it kind of makes sense in a way, but there are things that I would think cause pretty big plot holes in this movie. The other thing, too, I will say is that I think that it was cool to see all these super well-trained dogs. Like, I like dogs.
Yeah.
And this is, like, some of the most most dogs I've ever seen in one movie, So very well-trained dogs. It's almost like there's I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but it's almost like there's an aspect of this it's like, does he have some kind of telekinesis with these dogs or something? Cause
that was, kind of a big problem for me with the movie is why is he controlling these dogs? So God gave him the power to control dogs or something, and spoilers, he uses the dogs for basically whatever, to beat up some gang members, and
or commit or like burglarize rich people's houses.
it made no sense, and the ending, God's done with me, so I die, whatever. I'm spoilers. Whoops.
It's like a weird origin story for a villain or something like that.
Yeah, it was like
villain.
the weirdest superpower ever. Just, I can control these dogs by telling them what to do.
And it's funny, it's almost like so there's a couple things that the movie approaches in this strange way, and I don't know if it's because Luc Besson's really old or if it's that he's French and making a movie that's taking place in New Jersey is so out of his element, because so for one thing, he makes the family of this kid
the most southern family.
They're the most southern family, but the guy has this inexplicable, it's like Austrian, Hungarian, German accent or something like that. So you're like, what is that supposed to be? And nobody really has a real southern accent or anything like that. Well, I guess you wouldn't have a southern accent. I don't know how, it's like he misunderstood Alabama culture to be Alabama in the 60s.
Yeah.
to be New Jersey in the 90s, which is weird. And they're Catholic, which I guess maybe everyone in New Jersey's, maybe they have a bigger Catholic population or something like that, but they just don't seem like a Catholic family. So that's all odd. And he's raising dogs to fighting dogs, but it's he's beating his wife because she keeps feeding the dogs, and it's like, well, you do have to feed them, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're gonna raise dogs to fight.
I guess you can only feed them so much, but and then
it's just a crazy story because I don't know, that whole angle with his childhood is just a really unusual story because he essentially like chooses the dogs over his family, loves the dogs more than his family, and they cage him up with the dogs.
yeah.
But it doesn't seem like didn't seem like it was for that long, right?
I mean, it had to be his hair grew out and he was covered in filth, but I don't know, maybe a couple of months. I mean, he would have starved to death because I don't think they were even feeding him really.
Yeah, like I guess they just feed him dog food or something.
I guess,
I don't
man.
know. Whatever the dogs eat.
I hated his brother's character too because he was like super weird, religious, and looked like Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder.
I'll see you tonight when I go to bed in my head movies. But this head movie makes my eyes rain.
He does look like Simple Jack. Oh my god. You know, and the other thing is, this was kind of, I guess you could see it as cool, but it's a little cringy, I thought, like, because his brother hangs this sign up that says, like, in the name of God, or something like that, and the last word is God, and the Doug caged up in there sees it from the other side, and it looks like dog. And it's like, it's kind of like, kind of a cringy moment, I think. But there are things to like here, and I do think the story is engaging and compelling. It's just so bizarre. Like, you kind of watch it like it's a, I don't know, this makes it sound worse than I actually felt like it was, but it's almost like watching a train wreck in slow motion, you know what I mean? It is really weird. And I can't remember her name right now. I think it's like JoJo T. Gibbs. The woman who plays his therapist because he gets, so they pull him over at the beginning of the movie, and he's in this he's driving this box truck in full like Marilyn Monroe drag, and he's got a box truck full of dogs, and then it just drastically cuts to this woman being summoned to be a therapist for this new inmate that they just got in the middle of the night. But I kind of thought that kind of took me out some of the time. I thought her she might be a really great actress otherwise, but I kind of thought her like delivery and everything was so wooden and it just like reading lines.
Yeah, it was very dry. Like she didn't even want to be in the movie or something.
Yeah, it felt like reading lines in like a school play or something like that. Like just memorizing your lines and just saying them. And you know, it is the director's job to get the best performances out of these people, so I can't put it all on her or anything. But that was some poor direction or some poor, and it's not great writing either. But it's almost like to me, it just felt like watching this the first time. It felt like Caleb Landry Jones is in a different movie, and it's like a better movie. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, you know, that might be different for people, but for me, he stole the show and made this interesting to watch all the way through. But it is like he's doing like kind of like organized crime with dogs, and he has to dress and drag to do it, and he's a drag performer, but the only person he's ever loved is a woman. You can do drag and not be gay. It's just he's got this very interesting, effeminate.
Here's the thing. Yeah, he's very effeminate, and here's the thing about that as well. So we left out a point where his dad shoots at a dog in the cage, and it hits his finger, ricochets, and hits him in the spine. So now he's got like leg braces, and he's semi-paralyzed, and he's not supposed to be able to walk, which he does kind of sometimes. But his drag show would have been the most boring fucking drag show you've ever been to, because he's literally just, the first time he does it, he's just standing motionless and like kind of moving his arms around. Like the whole thing about drag is like the big performance and dancing,
right?
And they're making it seem like he's doing this French song, and they're making it seem like he's actually singing the song, is what I got from that. And
No, I mean, he is lip syncing it.
But then what the fuck was impressive about that? Because he's just standing there going like what? Nothing.
Here's the thing. So I can see, you know, there's room in drag for people who have disabilities, for sure.
Okay,
but the
thing
they
is, they hit his disability.
You need to be doing something. There's even a line in the movie where he says, like, people come here to have a good time, kid, like not to like listen to somebody recite Shakespeare and poetry and stuff like that. And then he's like, no, I can show you that I can really do it. And when he shows him he can really do it and everybody reacts like it's like, I guess it's impressive that he lip synced well to something that's not in his native language and stuff like that.
Sure.
But the song choice is not fun. It's like the guy was like, don't come here and take the fun out of drag. This is supposed to be fun. And then he shows up and he kind of does take the fun out of drag.
Yeah.
and then everybody reacts like, oh, I take it back. Actually,
it's the best thing I've ever seen.
In drag.
Yeah, dude.
And it seems like all of his performances are these ancient songs from the late 30s and 40s and
Which
stuff.
I mean, they make a point earlier in the movie to be like, my mom listened to all these classical songs, and that's why. But still, it was stupid.
But it's just not. Those aren't the choices. You need to be listening to some Madonna and some Megan Thee Stallion or something
Lady
like that.
Gaga and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is. I kind of enjoyed that scene for what it was, but I don't. It's kind of inexplicable because if I was at a show like that, it is not. That is not what you go to those kind of shows for at all. But I will say I do like seeing drag representation on a movie screen, and I think all of the drag performers besides him seem like they would be a good time and be actually talented drag performers. But
I'd rather watch Birdcage.
Now this is a dinner party. Let's work with food. All right? Spread some mustard on the toast. Don't use the spoon, and don't dribble little dots of mustard.
No?
No. You take your knife, and you smear. Men smear.
Smear.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think, though, that this movie is mostly interesting for how unusual and how offbeat and how uneven it all is. And, if you've watched many Luc Besson movies, like I said earlier, he was great in the 90s. The Fifth Element is great, but he had a story, a storied history of making these really successful movies. And then the last thing I saw from him was Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, and that movie was begging me to walk out of the theater. I really, really did not enjoy 1 second of that movie. So I just went into this out of curiosity, and it certainly delivers something to talk about, but I think you're going to be surprised with the score I'm going to give it because it's higher than really makes any sense.
Yeah, I imagine.
But there's just something about like I said, that performance.
It was I get it, but
I get there for me. But
only...
yeah, every time they show the therapist, I'm taken back out of it.
Yeah, the only part of the movie that I actually kind of liked was the end, which is kind of more action than anything else. The entire movie. Yeah, earlier in the movie, some kid comes because he's living in this abandoned school that he had rigged up by this kid, and the kid comes to him, and it's like, hey, these gangsters are extorting my mom or my aunt or some old lady. I don't remember how the relation. Anyways, he's sitting out on this corner in full drag, and calls the guy. He sends a dog in with a phone. Dog drops it on the table. Dude picks up the phone. Then another dog comes in, grips the guy's balls. And he's talking to him on the phone hey, if you don't stop extorting this lady, he's going to take your balls right now. Do we have a deal?
You won't be able to have kids. Do you want to have kids?
Yeah, it's and do we have a deal? And the guy's like, yeah, we have a deal. It's yeah, that's not going to come back to bite you. End of the movie, these gangsters show up at his place after beating the shit out of the kid who asked for the help in the first place, and then, boom, kill him. And then then the movie kind of turns into these guys are trying to find him. And all the dogs are running around through these little holes and kicking people into fucking tiger pit death traps, biting people's throats. And then he's up and hobbling about with his little rickety legs, shooting people with a shotgun somehow. And he just kills all these guys at the end of the movie. And that's kind of what you pick up at the beginning of the movie is him getting pulled over after that. And that's the only good part of the movie to me.
Yeah, I mean, that whole scene was actually executed super well. The dogs were trained really well, and a lot of practical stuff going on, and it's kind of everything you want out of a really messed up adult version of Home Alone or something like that. There's all these traps and booby traps, and the dog stuff is great.
He did kind of look like Macaulay Culkin when he was looking bad.
And by the way, I'll say the other thing too is there's something about the way people interact with dogs in this movie that feels off. It's everybody.
Have you ever pet a dog before?
Yeah, it's like everybody is seeing a dog for the first time. It's most of the dogs in this movie. I mean, really, the vast majority of the dogs in this movie. My reaction to seeing them would be oh, hey, puppy, not fear.
Yeah.
But everybody is afraid of dogs in this movie and just assumes even these dogs don't look like they're angry or intimidating. They're not snarling at anybody. it's just a bunch of big cuddly looking dogs walk in the room, and everybody's like, please God. And it's just like a little hard to, the only one, like the main like guard dog that's like a Doberman Pinscher or something like that, I guess I could see him looking like he means business.
Right.
But you never even really see him be aggressive. It's just like he looks like you don't want to get on his bad side.
Yeah.
And she at the end, the beginning of the movie, it says wherever there's an unfortunate, God sends a dog, and at the end of the movie, the therapist lady Evelyn ends up with the guard dog.
Yeah.
Because no dogs get killed, I think, in this whole movie. Which
I don't think so. Yeah.
Because when the dog goes in and grabs the guy by the balls, I'm thinking for sure somebody's gonna shoot the dog, right?
Yeah.
Like,
that would have been the end of that. Yeah.
Why would anyone in that situation, especially this guy's like a gangbanger, like he's got a gun. Everyone in here has a gun on them, and he, like, people go to shoot the dog, and he's like, no, and I'm like, are you sure? No.
Yeah.
Because you could put a stop to this. And then when they decide to leave too, like, nobody does anything about them just walking out, especially the little one. Like,
they hold the door open for him. Somebody had to.
It's just that's a little hard to believe.
Yeah.
But I can see there's a better movie in here. Like, I can see somebody being traumatized by being caged up with these dogs, forming the bond with these dogs. There's an interesting thing here. It's just the execution is so bizarrely uneven that what do you do with it? So anyway, at the risk of belaboring the point forever, I want to know what your score is for this movie.
A very generous 2.
A very generous 2 out of 10, he says.
It's not a good movie.
Yeah, you're gonna be surprised with mine, man. So I can't give it a great score.
Yeah,
but
no.
I'm giving it a 6.5.
Why? Come on.
I like his performance enough.
Okay, fine.
I like his performance enough. I
want you to go back and look at other videos where you gave stuff 6 and 6.5 and see if they hold up to this movie. Cause
it's probably the least justifiable 6.5 I'll ever give.
Okay.
In my head, I almost gave it, like, I was almost like, that's a 7, but the more I think about it, it is an extremely bizarre movie, and it doesn't really stick the landing.
No.
It doesn't really stick the landing. So yeah, 6.5, but an unjustifiable 6.5 for me. But I think if you're somebody that's like me and you're curious about movies enough, and you'll check things out even if you know they're not going to be amazing, just for the sake of the talking point of it, it's a conversation piece for sure for me. So take that as you will. Luc Besson did it again. Well, we appreciate you watching, guys. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit like on this video if you like this kind of thing, and we will be back soon with another review. So look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
I'm a OG boy. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my